The gentleman, now we'll get to the gentleman from Tennessee, Mr. Cohen.
Thank you, sir. Governor Whitman, were the scientists involved in the issuing of given the information that were used in the press releases that the EPA issued?
Were there scientists involved? As I explained at the beginning, Congressman, when we'd have the meetings in the morning, our scientists, the head scientist, was generally present at headquarters, but also on the other end of it, Region 2, the acting administrator who was overseeing things was there. He had scientists there. Scientists were very much a part of the discussions, yes, sir.
And with the when the press releases were changed, were the folks in the White House, do you know if scientists were involved in that office?
I don't know that, sir.
Well, being that you don't know if there are scientists involved on that end, and there were on your end, and you state, which is accurate and correct, that the scientists are the people who should be making these decisions, why did you never object once with the changing of the press releases to all is safe and clear from a precautionary note? The scientists were precautionary, the politicians weren't. Why did you never once be Roy Scheider?
Congressman, as I indicated earlier, the thing of concern was to ensure that all of the information that the public needed to make intelligent choices was contained in those press releases, and there was. As far as the actual wordsmithing went, I left that to the people who were trying to get consensus from the various agencies, and I have to presume that scientists were involved from the other agencies as well.
You presume, but you don't know. And
no, I don't know.
You never questioned one time. You didn't think your position was to ever speak truth to power, even if they refused and overruled you, that at least you would have rested, your conscience would have felt good about raising an issue.
All the relevant data was communicated in those press releases to the best of my remembrance and looking at them. And I know, but I feel assured because in one instance where we felt that all the data wasn't getting out, it was brought to my attention. So again, we talked in the morning about what information we knew, what the scientists and professionals felt was acceptable to communicate to the public. That was communicated to the communications office that went through this process.
But you've looked at the differences. I mean, the differences are very dramatic. From, you know, there's a problem, and asbestos is never a safe substance, and it's 200 to 300% higher, to Maria, where the industrials.
Well, I would disagree with your characterization of the changes, and I think you could go through and argue back and forth. But also remember, Congressman, that press releases were not the only way we were communicating information and data. In fact, I find that they were probably the least effective way because most of the people that needed the information, particularly those on the pile, didn't have time to sit and read press releases, which is why we communicated it verbally for a whole lot of different levels as well.
How do you define the pile? What's the dimensions of the pile, the parameters?
There was and I can get it for you, I don't have it here, but there was actually a blue line or drawn around it, or a green line, I guess it was. It was green line that indicated the parameters of the highest exposure where people were working on. It was basically those areas where the buildings collapsed.
And so was it out to the fence?
Which fence? I mean,
well, there was, when I was there, and this is what I was given, about 3 weeks afterwards, I was out around the fence. Was that the pile? Or was the pile, did the pile stop?
Actually, our area, you'd probably get a better answer to that with the next panel, Congressman. At the top of my head, I couldn't tell you what the parameters were, but, you know, again, that's a matter of record, and we could certainly produce
There were differences in how the folks who worked at the Pentagon were allowed to work and the ones at the Twin Towers. You waived some standards, did you not, at the Twin Towers that weren't waived as far as using respirators or conditions?
Are you addressing me or Mr. Henshaw?
Well, either one of you can give me a proper answer.
No standards were waived in either case.
But everybody at the Pentagon wore their respirators, did they not?
I don't know that for sure.
Well, the information I have says they were, and that there were different standards. You don't know about anything like that.
There were not different standards, and we enforced the same standard, but just in a different way.
Governor Whitman, in a different way.
Well, I know there was a snicker behind me. This is serious to me, as is to them. We applied a different enforcement policy or strategy on the pile because we did not have enforcement authority. And the circumstances require a little different circumstance or standard in respect to enforcement, as I said earlier, than it happened at the Pentagon. Under the circumstances, we had to deploy a partnership requiring people to follow those standards because we did not have authority for the firefighters and the police. Now, was every one of them wearing a respirator? Obviously, I see photographs of people not wearing respirators or they're hanging around their chin. I'm an industrial hygienist, and I know the only way that's going to work is you put it on the face properly and you're fit tested properly. So you're asking me, did everybody wear it the same way? No. You're asking me, did people wear it always at the Pentagon? I don't know for sure. In workplaces all around this country, people are supposed to wear it, and sometimes they're not. So I don't know.
Thank you. The time of the gentleman has expired.